You're listening to Unleashing Your Psychic Abilities with Holly Matthews. You can also send a question or comment to Holly after the show at azspiritualmedium@hotmail.com. That's azspiritualmedium@hotmail.com. Now back to Unleashing Your Psychic Abilities.
Welcome back. My guest host today is my friend and colleague, David Stipes, and we were just talking about sensitivity and learning how to recognize the sensitivity through intuition, through empathic ability, and onto clairsentience. And I would love to invite any of our listeners out there to give us a call here if you have any questions about this. And the phone number here is 1-866-472-5795. Now, we had just talked a little bit about the difference, the reasons for developing the empathic abilities. And I'd like to touch a little bit on this because there's several different ways of developing empathic abilities. Some people are just born with it, and they're sensitive from the time they're young. And when I say sensitive, I would love to rephrase that in the form of sensitives in a very high spiritual sense. So many times, someone who is sensitive is actually kind of denoted in that because they're being too ultra-sensitive or difficult to be around, or you have to watch what you say. In reality, they should be really honored because they are able to sense this kind of information coming in around them. They may not know how to process it, and that's what I'd like to talk a little bit about. Those that are born with empathic abilities, that ability to feel the emotions of those around them, tend to have some issues with that and like to try to repress it a lot if they have not been supported in that. I have quite a few psychics who come to me, or people who are psychically gifted, and they are a mess. They have found themselves they isolate themselves, have found themselves to be so sensitive that relationships are difficult. They tend to avoid social gatherings and don't know why. Many of them are actually accused of mental illness, and they tend to feel alone or like they are one of a species here on Earth that they can't find anybody else who understands and feels that way. They tend to become depressed because it just at times can rule their life because they're picking up so much information from everyone around them, their emotions and feelings and thoughts. And in that sense, if it is not learned to be harnessed and controlled and used in a positive way, it can actually be a deterrent to them and cause quite a bit of unpleasantness and havoc in their life. What I'd like to kind of do is to give you a couple of analogies here. And the first thing is that with sensitives, with empathic ability, you always have control over your environment. And I think that thought process in itself is probably one of the most difficult processes that people don't do, and yet it's one of the simplest. It's simply the understanding that you control your environment. You can control the emotions that come into you by processing them and then releasing those emotions. And we're going to get into that in just a minute, but I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how to just survive in social situations. If you can think of yourself and have perhaps two dials on the front of you, two volume dials, and they go from 1 to 10. One of those dials says me, and the other dial says others. And so when you're going out in public, what you want to do is turn the me dial up very, very high and turn the others dial down low. What this does is allows you to tune in more to who you are, your specific energy field. You know, I like flowers, I am positive, and I am kind and loving, and I like to sew, I like to do crafts, I like to play golf. As you become more aware of your center and of who you are, then it tends to block out those feelings of others. If you're going to be doing a reading, then what you want to do is turn yourself way down. Turn your dial down so you're not so tuned into you as much as you're turning up the dial to receive the energy and information from another. And you can do this in relationships too, just in the listening process of just turning yourself down so that you can listen to others and interact with them. And the whole process of just learning to control where you're at and what's going on around you in social situations is a great way to be able to bring more peace into your life.
I really love the visual of that. I found it actually, since I met you, I've actually started doing that, and has been very, very helpful in dealing with people and in dealing with the readings. Because one of the things that, I'm kind of jumping a topic here maybe a little bit, one of the things that we always deal with in doing readings is this my information or is it the client's information? And I really like the visual, and it's a very kinesthetic thing where I can literally sort of do this in my own hands as I'm doing like right now, and I can adjust the volume controls. It's really cool.
I thank you for that. I'm glad when I had this idea. I thought that was a really good idea. The most important thing, if you are one who is a sensitive or is empathic and haven't learned how to process the emotions and feelings and information coming in, I have a very quick little process that you can go through, which will absolutely turn your life around. The first thing is to recognize, as soon as let's say you were to walk into a room and you were to sense the energy in that room and it was not a pleasant energy, the very first thing is you feel that. Many times people explain it as a gut feeling. They feel like they're kicked in the gut. What happens is they feel that and then they just kind of suck in like because they feel it, and what you're doing is sucking in more of that motion and energy. So as soon as the recognition of something doesn't feel good, then you start the process of going, okay, something doesn't feel good inside of me. Now, what is it? I need to find out what it is. Is this coming from within me? Is there something that's causing me to feel ick? And if you answer no, then you pretty much know, okay, this is coming from my environment. You can study the environment, and then it gives you an idea of, okay, this is not mine. As you recognize that this feeling or emotion is not yours and is coming from somebody else or some other environmental thing, you can then just take a deep breath in and just blow out very, very hard, just blow it far away from you, out of your energy field, those emotions, because they don't belong in there. What belongs in there belongs to you, not in the taking in of information from others. So the information gives, the emotion gives us the information, which we then process and then rotate it, recycle it, get it right back out of our system. Once it's out of our system, we can then recycle it. By recycling it, we then are able to logically analyze what was that emotion about, what's going on, and what do I do about it. If you're in a situation where you're in a fight with somebody else, of course you're going to feel that feeling. And then as you're feeling it, you need to ask, is it my problem or is it theirs? Is this coming from me? Am I the angry one? Or is this their situation and they are projecting onto me? As you understand that information and logically deal with it, and it could be a very rapid process of doing this, you will then know, should I take action? Is this person just in a really bad mood right now and I just should send love? Or should I go ahead and ask myself, am I doing something that might be angering this person or something I can change? So it's the process of feeling the emotion, understanding where it's coming from, making that choice, getting out of your system by blowing, or you can shake your hand off, or you can do whatever it is you need to do to feel you're getting out. Some people cough or sneeze. It's the matter of releasing that emotion, and you keep doing that until you feel calm inside. Then, once it's out of your energy field, then you can look at it and logically know how to deal with it. This very simple process is probably one of the most powerful things in changing people's lives from being empathic and perhaps struggling to the form of clairsentience, where you're actually receiving information, processing, and putting it back out again.
I like the fact that it's moving people from feeling like a victim to having spiritual power, making them a spiritual warrior. That's one of the things that I work with a lot, because I wind up picking up emotions and sensations, and I do exactly what you say, Holly, and I've been doing this for years. I ask, is this mine or is this being sent to me? And one of the things that's subtle about this is that if you can phrase your guidance situations as yes or no, it'll come to you a lot more clearly, because sometimes we want to have we think we want to have a dissertation from our guide. Sometimes a simple yes or no can come through and we have it instantly. So is this coming from me? Yes, no. Is it coming from somebody else? Yes, no. So then it becomes a tool that you can again use to function in your reality. What I also like to do as well is to surround myself with a white bubble of protection, or an angel, or some sort of whatever spiritual being that I want to work with, and ask them to stand between me and those energies or those thoughts or those feelings that are coming to me. Sometimes it's not just a feeling. Sometimes it can be a negative thought, and those thoughts can be sent to us. And that's not to say that we're all victims and that we don't take responsibility, but sometimes we have these things that we pick up that are floating around, and we telepathically get them.
I think that goes right along with the story of my son and I, because once we got to the point to where we recognized that these weren't our emotions, because we were fine just seconds before driving in the car, and suddenly both of us are having this intense physical reaction to it. We had to process it. Well, did I have something to eat that wasn't comfortable to my body? What could possibly happen? Am I anxious? And when it's not that, then we knew how to process it, release those emotions, and get them back out of our body. I also loved what you said, David, about, just slipped by me. The protection part of it all.
Oh, yeah, placing beings or placing white light around me or something like that.
Excellent, because each one of us has this wonderful energy field around us, and if it's strengthened, what I like to do is strengthen it with white light. When it is strengthened, it becomes very healthy, becomes powerful, so that there's kind of a barrier around you that kind of lets those emotions and thoughts and feelings come towards your energy field, and then they just kind of bounce off again. Another thing, too, is if you're in a social situation, you tend to be picking up too much information from those around you. You can always just place both hands over your solar plexus, just right under your breastbone and above your navel. And as you protect this area, because this is the biggest sensing part of your body, either through psychic ability, it also runs the whole autonomic system, and so it connects both body and physical to the metaphysical part. And by combining those two and learning how to control this center, you combine the best of both worlds. So you do receive information from both the higher source and also the information here, which gives you a great sense of peace. And we're going to be right back after these messages.